Welcome back to the Market Mindset Podcast. I'm Matt Laird, and thanks for joining us once again today. My grandma Burl always said, "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure," and nothing could be so true as when it comes to bookkeeping and doing taxes. Today we have Cherie Moritz. She is with Deeper Dive Virtual Bookkeeping. She works with real estate professionals. It's the sole focus of her practice. There's a big difference again between bookkeeping and doing taxes. A good bookkeeper will set everything up nicely for your CPA, your tax preparation specialist in the future. So we dug into a couple different things, some of the different write-offs we have, how she works, what she does, a free consultation so she can set you up and get you on the right path. Again, welcome Cherie Moritz with Deeper Dive Virtual Bookkeeping. Hey, welcome back again to Market Mindset Podcast. I'm Matt Laird. Today, I've been waiting to get her on for a long time. She's always busy, but it's a great honor and privilege to have Cherie Moritz here. She's with Deeper Dive Virtual Bookkeeping. She specializes in bookkeeping for real estate agents, real estate offices, real estate investors, real estate brokerage firms. So I definitely want everyone here to pay attention. She's going to go over her business, how she got into the business, and her specialty. Cherie, thank you for taking the time. I know we scheduled this a long time ago because you are so busy out there helping real estate professionals. You have an amazing social media presence, and we'll talk about that, how you garnered so many followers and things like that. But talk to us. How did you get into it? What's your specialty? What are some of the things us real estate agents need to know about taxes and bookkeeping?
Okay. Well, thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here, Matt. So I started my bookkeeping journey back in 2021.
Okay.
And I first started to assist any kind of small business owner, but it didn't take very long to realize that the only ones I was actually enjoying were the real estate clients. So I decided to focus my whole practice just on real estate. I went back to class and got a lot of in-depth real estate bookkeeping training. And so I started targeting my marketing on real estate, and it was definitely the way to go. I have enjoyed every minute of it since I made that change.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. And it sounds like you niched down. You found a really specific niche, which is in the real estate profession, and you've also diversified a little bit. My accountant really doesn't like me, and my bookkeeper doesn't like me. And the reason why is we come in with a big box of receipts, and I think I itemized this, and I did all that, and at least for me, I'm not the most organized person. How do you handle us real estate professionals?
Well, you are not alone, first of all. Nearly every client that I've taken on has been in a similar situation, either messy books or non-existent books. And the first thing that we do is get all that cleaned up. I usually go back to whenever you filed your last tax return. We start there. And we can either start from scratch or we can clean up whatever messes you already have. One thing that I do is I like to have you send me all of your receipts, like from every month, so that I can put them into your accounting file, and then they're always there when you need them or when the, God forbid, IRS auditor needs them.
Yeah. Sometimes we get so focused, at least I do. I don't want to speak for everyone, but we get so wrapped up in our business, and there are so many different expenses that I forget to itemize or bring to the table. Do you provide a checklist for people to get started? Say I come in and I knock on your door virtually. I love the fact that you're virtual, that I can get a hold of you at any time. But I come into you as a real estate professional with not the most organized books. How would we get started? Again, I know you talked about receipts and getting organized, but tell me the process.
Okay. Well, the first thing I would do is I would gain access to your existing QuickBooks file if you have one. And I would take a look at it. I would do a diagnostic review. I would figure out everything that's wrong with it and give you a report. And then the second thing would be I would go in and, if you wanted me to, of course, clean up or catch up all the gaps all the errors and so forth, because real estate bookkeeping is not exactly the same as general small business bookkeeping. Um, it's just really requires that you have to understand the industry, you have to understand the nuances and the way to record things. A lot of bookkeepers don't understand getting paid at the table, finder's fees, commission splits, all those things. So we clean all that up, and then we would keep you going on a monthly basis. We would keep your books going so that they're always pristine, they're always bulletproof at any given moment in time, and they're always ready, number one, to do your taxes, and number two, to make good business decisions, because so many people think of bookkeeping and their financial books as just for income taxes. And that couldn't be farther from the case. If you've got a good set of books, then you're going to be referring to that constantly to make decisions about how you're doing, what you're spending, where you can cut back. I need to apply for a loan, so I need to take my lender some balance sheet and P&L reports. I mean, they're just useful all the time. So you would probably in the beginning have to send me a ton of information. That would be the most painful part of the process. But once you live through that, then it's over, and I take care of you from then on. You would send me bank statements, credit card statements. You would send me your last tax return, things like that. And I start with that, and I turn it into a beautiful, organized set of information that you can use from then on. And you'll have so much more success when you have good information to start with.
I love that. I love that. And I think we all need to realize that it's the white elephant over there that we don't want to look at, and then we procrastinate, and all of a sudden we're
Yeah.
missing deadlines.
Yeah.
And maybe more importantly, we're missing a lot of deductions. What are some of the common expenses that maybe the typical real estate professional isn't looking at or not aware of that can be a benefit as far as their bottom line when preparing, doing books and preparing your taxes?
Well, there's the one that most recently I encountered was I had a client who bought a new mobile phone, and she didn't realize that she could deduct the cost of that. So there's one example. But I'll tell you, Matt, the real problem is not so much that you guys don't know what you can deduct. The real problem is that you're not keeping the documentation that you need in order to deduct it.
Okay.
You so many times people have said, well, I don't have that receipt or whatever. And yeah, we can put it in your books on your word. Definitely, I'm going to trust everything you tell me. But if you ever get audited, all that stuff's coming right back out of your tax return, because the auditor won't be putting up with that. So keeping the documentation and keeping it organized, those are the key things. And I do have a list of deductions that I send to all my clients. That's sort of patterned along, well, for a real estate agent, a lot of times it's patterned along the Schedule C, or whatever tax form they need, because if we can keep your books matching up with your tax forms, it not only makes your life easier, but it also makes your tax preparer love you.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. That's great. I mean, just being prepared, and again, the upfront work that we might have to do to catch up is well worth the just the less anxiety in the long term. I know that again, I speak personally, I sort of procrastinated, in a lot of things, but itemizing those deductions. What percentage of the real estate agents out there that you work with in investors and in brokerage offices, I mean, a majority of them are doing Schedule Cs on their tax returns?
Um, Yeah, mostly either, well, it varies. There's sole proprietors. I get a lot of LLCs who are doing the pass-through taxes. And then I do have quite a few S corps as well. So it just depends on how long a person's been in business, how much income they're making, and so forth, whether they've, gone that full route. But you can, even if you're a sole proprietor and you haven't set up an LLC, and that's okay, you don't have to do that. You actually should still keep your business and personal transactions completely separate. And a lot of people don't do that. And there's a lot of reasons. It's easier to track, for one thing, whether I'm tracking it for you or you're doing it for yourself. It makes it bulletproof. It's bulletproof is where your books are super clean, they're easy to follow by a third party like an auditor, and they're really hard to question because everything that we put in there, we've done it in a way that it's just so obvious to the auditor. You should have separate bank accounts.
Okay.
If you're an entity, if you're an LLC or a partnership or a S corp or a C corp or whatever, you have to keep your business and personal separate. If you're a sole proprietor, you don't have to, but it's still such a good idea to do that. And I usually start out whenever I talk to somebody on the phone to determine if they're going to be my client. I tell them a lot of these tips anyway, because even if they don't use me, I want them to know how to make their own life easier, how to eliminate some of that stress.
Yeah, I love that. I love that idea. Um, on sort of a side note, or maybe we're going to go down a different path here. At what dollar amount, revenue, gross commission income points, do you recommend to your clients or have them look into doing a DBA or doing a LLC or an S corp? Is there a point where you start to do that at dollar wise, or is it good to start right away with a separate entity?
Well, first of all, when you're talking about an LLC, that's not really based on a dollar amount. The LLC is more for asset protection.
Okay.
And if a lot of people do that right off the bat, but you don't have to. What it does for you is it separates your business and your personal assets so that in the case of, somebody suing your business or suing you personally, they only have access to part of your total assets. So that's the reason to do an LLC. The S corp gives some tax advantages as you start to make more and more income. But I steer clear of recommending to my clients what that dollar amount is because I'm not a tax preparer and I don't like to get out of my wheelhouse. So, what I will tell them is as their income begins to grow, I will tell them that you need to have a relationship with enrolled agent or a CPA or someone you can consult with throughout the year. And you need to keep in touch with them, keep them apprised of your situation, and they will be the ones to tell you for your particular circumstances when you should go the S corp route. Because it's not all sunshine and roses. It makes you have to do some things that are kind of a nuisance. So you want it to be something you super need, not just do it just because.
Right. And I love the fact that you very, again, niched yourself in the bookkeeping aspect, which I think, for me, I mean, CPAs are not, they're a worthwhile investment, but, I mean, the more I can have ready all my books, all my records, when I hand it over to my CPA, it makes their job easier. It makes them not, I mean, they can't bill me as much as they would if I just handed over all these receipts and say, handle this for me. So you work hand in hand, it sounds like, with the agents, with the brokers, directly with their tax preparation specialist or their CPA, so that I give them something that's really easy for them to digest. Do I have that correctly?
That is correct. That's one of the first pieces of information that I ask you for when you come on as a client is who do you use for those services and what is their contact information? And could you please let them know that you've now hired me as your bookkeeper and I may reach out from time to time with questions on how they would like this or that done. And then at the end of the year, I will send you and them your year-end reports that are laid out, like I said, as closely as possible to how the tax form has it on there to make their job easier, to cause them to spend less time on your books, and as you said, therefore bill you less. And then they will, do some of the things that they have to do in addition to preparing the tax return and get that information back to me. And then I will add that information into your books, make the adjustments they've requested. And that's when we'll send you your final year-end reports and close out your books for that year. At that point, it's set in stone. It matches your tax return, and we don't want to make any changes. But yeah,
I
you
agree.
know, ideally, you don't want your tax preparer to be doing your books because typically they charge way more than a bookkeeper would to do that work. And also, having your books done once a year at the end of the year, yes, you have satisfied your need for tax return information, but you have not satisfied your need throughout the year for business information to run your business like a CEO.
I love that. I love that. And then for I think a lot of, I mean, quarterly estimated taxes. We don't want to get stuck with penalties and big payments at the end of the year. So that ongoing, process of keeping everything up to date allows us to avoid potential penalties, I would think, by making accurate quarterly estimated payments.
That's absolutely right. And I like to send my clients little reminders when their estimated tax payments are due so that they can work with their tax professional to get that done. Also, I post that in some of my social media as well for everybody. But yeah, you just don't want to get behind on anything when it comes to your finances. It's always better. You sleep better at night.
Oh,
You're going to be way more successful if at every moment in time you say, oh, I have 99 things to worry about, but this ain't one of them.
I love it. I love it. Yeah. What do you recommend? Because a lot of us are in our automobiles a lot. I know when I'm out looking at properties, sometimes I forget to keep track of my mileage. What are some of the if there's what do you suggest for keeping track of mileage as far as your vehicle is concerned?
Um, there are two potential ways to do that that I like to recommend. Obviously, there's many, many more, but QuickBooks itself has a mileage tracker. And if you have the QuickBooks app on your phone, you can use it to track all your mileage, and then you assign it a particular trip to either business or personal.
Okay.
Um, and then that flows directly into your books. So that's really ideal. Another way is an app that I like called Mile IQ, and it has a really nice interface. And basically, you just need to put a sticky note on your steering wheel until you get in the habit. I mean, it's the same with any kind of new habit that you're trying to establish if you're not already doing it. But using an app makes it super easy. So at least, I'm real old school, and I remember getting into a company car and having to fill out the clipboard form, and nobody wants to do that this day and age. So definitely put an app on your phone to take, the idea is to take as much stress off of the real estate professional as we possibly can.
Yeah. Yeah. That and it is. And I think it's like a habit, like you said. Once you get used to putting this type of a system in place, it makes our job a lot easier. My goal as a real estate professional is to be out there marketing, is getting in front of, individuals that want to buy or sell real estate. And
Yes.
and the more I can delegate, and and it virtually is the way to go. We're using virtual assistants for marketing. We're using virtual assistants for our social media in a lot of situations.
And this to me sounds like just another way to take something off my plate so I can focus on what's, revenue generating activities. And it sounds like you definitely assist us real estate professionals in that regards.
Well, that's absolutely true. I mean, if you think about all the hours that a typical agent puts in doing all the things that you have to do for your clients, plus marketing and bringing new leads into the pipeline and so forth, very often somebody will find themselves at 11 o'clock at night sitting down at their desk at home to finally try to do their bookkeeping. And who wants to do that? Um, you need time to spend with your family and friends, and you need time to recharge and rest. And you have so much stress you cannot get rid of, things you have to do yourself because you are the rainmaker in your own business. And everything that you can possibly take off your plate that someone else can do, and frankly, do better than you would have, most likely. Um, I say you have to have a team. You have to invest in having a team to help you be as successful as possible. So you are absolutely correct.
I love, yeah, that's great. Um, I'm a client and I'm a real estate agent. Number one, how do we get a hold of you, and how does the initial process go? We went into it a little bit earlier about, having access to our bookkeeping. Do you recommend QuickBooks?
I do recommend QuickBooks. It's the only bookkeeping software that I choose to use. And the reason why I recommend it, frankly, is because out of all the software available out there, QuickBooks Online has the best reporting capabilities. And if you think about it, the reports are the entire reason that you're using an accounting system in the first place. They are the valuable output of your accounting system. So I love QuickBooks Online for that reason. So the first thing that you would do is you would find out that I exist, and then you would reach out to me either through Facebook or my website. I have a link on there that gives you some information about my practice, and it also has a link to book a call with me. And then we would talk. We would spend about an hour talking about what's going on with your business, get some basic information, figure out as much as we can without looking at your books, what some of the issues might be that we would encounter. And then most likely we would decide to do that diagnostic review and clean up your books and get going that way. But it all starts with that very first Zoom call that you book on my Calendly link.
Okay,
And
great. What is your Calendly link? I'll put this at the end once we finish, but I'll put some contact information. I love Calendly. What's your
me too.
Calendly link since we're on that topic right now?
It's long.
Okay, but again, I'll put it up at the end.
Yeah, let's definitely put it on the end, and my website and all that kind of good stuff. Typically once we're in a business relationship, we'll work together via email, and we'll use Google Drive. I'll keep all your documents organized for you and securely private. Only you and I will see them. And we won't exchange any confidential financial information through email. We'll just use that for, communication between us. It's a very simple process. I try not to make it too fancy and have a lot of cumbersome overhead. I like to, you know, keep things with, keep using tools that people understand already and are comfortable using.
Yeah, I love that. In real estate, as a real estate professional and real estate agent out there, how often would I typically be in contact with you? Is it quarterly, monthly? What do you typically suggest as far as communication and staying in contact with
Right.
you?
Well, let's say we've gone through the cleanup process and that's behind us now, because that's not typical of what our ongoing relationship will be. That's a special beast. So now we've got you all pristine and bulletproof, and we're just doing monthly bookkeeping. So what will happen is you'll get an email from me at the first of every month, sort of a reminder to send me your data from the previous month. And I'll list on there the types of things that I need you to send. And then hopefully you'll get that to me within a couple of days, and I will have your books finished up and reconciled and analyzed and have your reports to you by about mid-month. That's the most normal. If you're, if you don't send me the information I need, then it might be delayed a bit, but it's not a huge discussion back and forth once we get past the cleanup. It's very, I try to keep it as minimalist as possible, because the whole idea is for you to have to do as little as you have to do, as we can get by with.
Right.
So, once I take the information you've sent me and I process it into your books and I take a look at there might be a few things left, I'll send you an email saying, hey, what was this thing on August 12th that you did for $62? And so, there'll be 3 or 4 of those in an email, and you get that answer back and you'll have your reports, within a day of that. So
yeah,
it's very, very routine. It's, the more you send me, the more I can help you. I like to say to my clients, send me anything with a number on it.
okay.
I'll decide if I need it or not. You don't have to spend time fretting about, oh, should I send this? Should I not? Just send it. And if I don't need it, that's fine. I'll be the one to take the time to figure it out, so you don't have to.
I mean, the initial investment of time is well worth the stress that I'm going to be relieved of, knowing that my books are up to date. And, hopefully I don't have to file for that extension, the first or second extension, and I can get this checked off my list by staying in contact with you. So when it comes time to file taxes, I don't have to go out and do those expensive extensions and bug my CPA. And I love that you interact directly with my CPA when handling, my taxes, because again, we want to stay focused on the business of real estate. That's what we specialize in. And we hand out all non-revenue generating tasks to a professional like yourself. And the fact that I can get a hold of you, we can do a Zoom meeting. I like looking you in the eye and saying, hey, I want you to see the anxiety on my face, or the fear, or the elation of you solving a problem for me, which is just again, such a relief and well worth it. Going back, we talked about cell phones. The home office, do you itemize that? I mean, how do you put that on the books when you're doing my bookkeeping for me?
I don't put that on the books.
Okay.
I have a spreadsheet that I've created that I provide to my clients that gives them an easy way to track all the expenses that they typically would need to track for a home office.
Okay.
And at the end of the year, they can provide that to their tax preparer, who will help them decide whether or not the standard deduction would benefit them more, or the itemized deduction of home office expenses. For things like a personal vehicle or personal cell phone expenses, where some of that is business and some isn't, it sort of depends. If it really is part personal and part business, then you can send me your statements every month and just note on there whether or not it's business or personal, say in the case of a cell phone. And then I will do all the paperwork to allocate the business portion into your books. And then I will even fill out your reimbursement form, your expense request reimbursement.
Wow.
And at the end of every month, you'll have your expense reimbursement form that contains all of it, like your travel, your personal phone bill, your personal internet, anything that gets split.
Okay.
If you send me the raw material, then I will calculate all that for you, fill out the form for you, and all you have to do is either write yourself a check or do the transfer to your
Yeah.
personal account.
I mean, you must be the CPA's best friend in a lot of ways because, again, I know that they love nothing better than having concise, diligently prepared bookkeeping records so that they can do what they specialize in maximize deductions, keep me off the audit list. You keep hearing about how many new IRS agents are going to be out there, looking at independent contractors, and we're independent contractors. We run our own business, and we want to avoid, getting caught up in that audit trail. And it sounds like you just provide an amazing service. The fact that again that you work with real estate professionals is got to give people like myself such confidence in knowing that you're involved in this on a daily basis. On a side note, I mean, what are you doing to expand your social media presence? You have an amazing following, and I'm glad you and I connected through Facebook and through social media. What are you doing out there to get yourself so prominently exposed to the real estate professionals via social media? What are you doing?
Well, I like to focus my efforts on Facebook as far as social media goes, because that's where I've had the best response and return on the investment of my time. And I do have a large following, as you point out, and I like to do communicate with them several times a week through posts. But I primarily rely on direct messaging, to what I'm looking for is real estate professionals who need help right now.
Okay.
Um, People who are in trouble right now. They have no books or their books are a mess or whatever. You know, Also, my other favorite client to take on is a brand new real estate CEO, like a new agent or an investor who just bought their first property or something, because then I can set them up right from the very outset. And we don't ever have to clean anything up. They are pristine and bulletproof from day one. And I just get so much joy out of starting with them and growing with them. And so whenever they find me through social media, I'm always just elated.
I love that. I love that. And again, keeping track of everything. I would imagine that your bookkeeping would expose to us, the individual agents, maybe some unnecessary expenses, some expenditures that it would just, what gets examined gets improved. And, again, circling back to the government, they're hiring a ton of IRS agents. That means more people looking at our business, especially in real estate, where we have a lot of deductions off, that we can use to offset income. It is just so critical, and that, I like the idea of getting in contact, working with agents when they get started, because you're setting up great habits. You're setting up that routine of keeping track and itemizing, all the expenses. So that's just phenomenal. So any new agents out there, anyone that's in the real estate business, guy, I highly encourage you to reach out to Cherie. And we're again at the end, I'm going to put some contact information out there. Any last hints or suggestions for the new agent, and maybe even the more experienced agents? Anything off the top that you can talk to us about?
Yeah, well, one thing I'd like to point out is one advantage of choosing a bookkeeper who has the background in real estate is that we usually, as a default, we will track all of your expenses by listing, by property.
Oh,
So when you get your monthly reports from me, you get your usual balance statement, profit and loss statement, and cash flow statement, but you also get either an income by property, net income by property, which shows you each property, how much you made versus what you spent just on marketing that property. Or if you prefer it, I can do a separate profit and loss for each one of your closings that you had that month. And that is really beneficial. So I split out, like, let's say that you are doing marketing for your business as a whole. Okay.
Right.
That's an overhead advertising expense. And so that goes in one bucket. But let's say that you're one of the ones who sets up a website for each of your listings,
Oh,
or you've got some staging costs that you had to put out for listing at 123 Main Street, things like that. I put those directly with that property. So you will see what commission you made, and you will see the actual expenses that were just for that one property. And that gives you your gross profit. And then below that, we go ahead and take out the overhead expenses. But that's really valuable, because you might say, like, I had a client who spent the same amount on two different properties, and yet one of them netted her 3 times the revenue that the other one did. And
okay.
so, you might use that to make some choices about where you want to spend, how much you want to spend based on, the characteristics of each individual property. But even if you just do things the same for
Yes.
everybody, you're still aware.
Yes.
You're
We're about to
still
wrap this up here. You're definitely going to be back. I mean, a half hour went a lot quicker than we thought. Agents, real estate professionals, deeper dive, virtual bookkeeping. Cherie, Moritz, you're phenomenal.